you ready for this?
We're here! Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Ron Popeil.
That shows anybody?
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Tom Purvis, trainer to the trainers.
Hi, I'm Mike Levy.
Hold on to your power rod.
But wait.
What are you doing?
Call now.
Call now.
Call now. Call now. Call or log on now.
Call now.
Call right now. Call in the next 18 minutes. Call in the next 16 minutes.
Call in the next 7 minutes.
Call these numbers right now.
Hello and welcome to Call Now, where we plunge headfirst into the surreal world of infomercial. And while we can't offer you free shipping, we can guarantee that the views and opinions expressed on this podcast are definitely those of this network. Thank you, Tim. My name is Dan Sturdivant. I'm joined as always by my co-hosts on this three-man we've known as Call Now. You guys, you all look like Mark Pedrati. Hey, Mark. Looking good, babe.
Hey. Should I be nervous?
You should be Purvis, because momentum is what makes this guy dangerous sometimes. Dave Sandrini. Hey, Dave.
What's wrong, Dano?
Nothing's wrong. Never better, because we had the opportunity to sit down and speak with none other than Mr. Tom Purvis himself. And I would like to take a moment to take a victory lap, okay? Let's go back and listen to episode 2, where I was Team Tom, you suckers were Team Randy, and now I will allow you gentlemen to pay your penance before we get to the interview with Tom and correct the record if you wish.
Sorry, Tom. Randy's cool still.
Yeah. Randy's great. I can't imagine these could possibly hold a candle to our guy, Tom.
Our main man, Tom Purvis. It was a great time, great conversation. Hope you guys like it. Without further ado, here's our talk with Tom Purvis. All right, you guys, the trainer to the trainers himself is here. For our listeners, this is not a long-form bit, and I did not suddenly perfect my Tom Purvis impression, all right? The man himself is on the line. Tom Purvis, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
It was really fun when I got your email, because I thought, holy crap, I think I told you when we discussed on the phone, this was like 2 or 3 lifetimes ago in terms of, things that have happened. So it's like, oh, wait, someone wants to talk about ancient history. I'm up for that,
Yeah. Hey, and we're very excited to do so. So we'll say we reintroduced ourselves to your presence when we broke down that 99 cut of the Bowflex. It was something that we were all familiar with. It was in our hearts and souls, but then we really got into the nitty gritty of it. And, as you said, a few lifetimes ago, and obviously you have and continue to have a widely respected, innovative, incredibly successful fitness career, over the course of which you've had a lot of titles: physical therapist, director of physical therapy, director of physical wellness. And then when you were at the National Academy of Sports Medicine, it was right around 95 where you picked up another title, which was design consultant. And that shows up for
Cybex.
For Cybex,
Yeah.
And then also for the Bowflex. And so with that being kind of the first thing that we're very curious about, can we start there about really what that meant for you to become and being brought in as a design consultant, putting you in the shoes and in the room with those folks to eventually add the titles of host and presenter to your resume as well?
Yeah, it was a kind of a crazy time, because I had, back in '89, I was one of the first people tapped to help create the original, not that it's the same now, but the original National Academy of Sports Medicine. And so, I don't know, about 94, one of the biggest continuing education organizations, IDEA, which is an acronym like all of them, IDEA. But they asked me to come create something for them called Strength Labs. In other words, it was their first really non-aerobic practical experience for these trainers and stuff. So anyway, things kind of just like, I don't know, snowballed, and you're on planes all the time, and everybody goes, oh, that's cool. And you're like, no, it sucks. And, oh, but you're in a new city. Yeah, but they're all the same, because all Marriotts are the same and all Hiltons are the same. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit. And so
glamorous. Yeah.
That year though, 94 was interesting, because one of the things that I kind of it would be a giant lie to say I have an engineering background. I have an engineering aptitude.
Tinkerer.
I was raised by an electrical engineer. My brain goes straight to mechanics. I was building shit when I was 5 years old. I'm not saying it was good stuff, but I was building it. And all GI Joes died, or either died from falling or were on fire. That's just the way it was. I wasn't into the Dexter stage yet, where you mutilate. But
That came later, obviously.
Your clean cuts. Yeah, makes sense.
yeah, I was all American. So,
A lot of cable stuff. No, we'll get there.
but the second thing I got asked to do was an upstart kind of a educational thing for trainers called FACT. Again, FACT. I don't know what the acronym even was. It's not even around anymore. But I was doing a couple lectures, one of which was home equipment analysis, and the other one was commercial equipment analysis. And so a year prior to that, I had been introduced to some Cybex sales reps, and they were like, holy crap, everybody on our sales force needs to know these objective facts. And so they hired me to go around the country for them. I was about every other week. I was doing things for Cybex, I got to tell you, to their credit, nobody believes this, but when they asked me to go around doing this stuff, they said, don't change it, because I was straightforward. It was an 8-hour presentation. I was like, okay, this thing, this fly machine, it flat sucks. But this over here is a good idea. Well, they understood the value of third-party endorsement. And when I said something sucked, it made people believe that this might be a legitimate good piece over here. I mean, it was the truth. So to their credit, they didn't ask me. It wasn't like, no, you can't say anything bad about us. They just wanted what I said. And it was a pretty good marriage there for a few years, right? And then I got the opportunity. I thought I knew all about equipment. Holy crap. It's the worst thing in the world to think you know anything, right?
Yeah.
It's a curse. I got slapped in the face my first car ride with an engineer. I'm like, oh, you should do this, you should do this. And I'm like, yeah, well, each one of those is a $50,000 change. And if we don't sell any more of them next year, we lost $50,000. And so now the stockholders are pissed. I'm like going, stockholder what? I mean, it's like there's a business here. Anyway, so I got involved with Cybex, and there was a couple things that were interesting that along the way in subsequent lines that came out were part of this much input I had. That same year, somebody came up to me and said, there's a couple equipment guys down there in booths in the little expo part, and you should go talk to them because you're the only guy talking equipment. Well, one of them over here, right across the aisle from each other, was a Bowflex and Ab Trainer.
You went 2 for 2.
And the Bowflex guys had just they sold about 30 units a month. 30 units a month.
Whoa.
And they had just started a trainer program where it's like, man, if we could get these trainers to sell them to their clients that they train in home, or the trainers could put them in the back of their cars and they could lug them around. And it actually was a really brilliant idea as an early, as an early deal.
In the mid-90s too. Damn.
And they were ridiculous. I always had a bad kind of a taste in my mouth, metaphorically speaking, for the Carnival Barker type, which you guys do a great Carnival Barker voice when you're doing your little intros for stuff. It's pretty funny.
Thank you.
That's all Dan.
The guy goes, Brad Carlson, he goes, let me send you one and you put it together and tell us what you think. Well, okay, usually when people say that, they just want to say that they want you to tell them how great it is.
I was just going to say, tell me what you love about it, and then I'll hang up.
Yeah. And so I'm like a biomechanist. I'm like looking at engineering. I'm going, well, here's surprisingly pretty decent. The thing that surprised me most about Bowflex was the leg attachments, not necessarily the base unit, but the one you guys looked at in the 99, as well as the one, of course, that was the same unit in 96 when we started. Which, by the way, I first saw in the movie Running Man. There was a unit in Running Man in Maria Conchita, whatever name, her apartment. Come on, guys. It's one of the worst Schwarzenegger movies ever.
We know that.
I
just didn't know there was a bow.
I know the bow was in there. I thought you were going to.
There was a bow. The first one I ever saw in 1987. I just moved back from California, and it's like, what is that thing in that chick's apartment that he just kidnapped?
I thought you were going to say it was in Predator. Like it was fog and then it would disappear and then no, all right.
No, if it was Bowflex's idea, that's what would happen, right?
Yeah.
And you have to have the guy in Predator doing the dry shave thing, and that dude's cool. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Bill Duke or something like that?
Yes.
Bill Duke, yeah.
Oh geez.
That guy was awesome.
Yeah, he's rad, yeah.
There's a Bowflex in the Running Man. Wow. This is
for this long. Don't blink, it's in her apartment.
Come
on.
But
anyway, and there was also in Men in Black too.
You gotta find that.
What?
Yeah. So, and I sent back, I said, here's 3 things I would change. And a week later, I got modifications, prototypes for those 3 changes. And I went, these guys are for real. They're like
serious.
interested in a
Wow.
quality piece of and they didn't have any money back then. Like I said, 30 units a month. But an interesting thing, that was a long evolution of a relationship. Right, I said Ab Trainer was across the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if you ever saw those things. There was Ab Rocker and Ab Rower and all this ab crap. It was a big market for a while during about 95. But yeah, within 6 months, I had an infomercial deal with them, and we went on and with Ab Trainer, and it made about 100 million. I learned a lot about contracts with that one, mostly what not to do more than what to do. But the reason I'm bringing that up is, well, there's a couple interesting things depending on how interested you are in this bullshit. But
I mean, we dedicate a lot of time to this stuff, Tom. So yeah, please empty the bag. We're here for you.
no, they had a great patent attorney. So they got this patent and they sued everybody else that entered the market, ripping them off. They made 600 million on everybody else's products.
Oh shit.
And 100 million on their own.
Wow, that's smart.
And here's the part that sucks. My contract was only with the one.
Just for the,
So there's first thing. It's like, okay, anybody in your contract, anybody else you take over, any money you make from competing against me, they basically became my competitors. Right? I mean, it's a screwed up world, man.
Wow.
Yeah, damn.
But it was those guys who produced that infomercial that I introduced to Bowflex, because Bowflex did not have the money to produce an infomercial. And I took Eric Stilson, who did the Ab Trainer infomercial, which, by the way, did not have a teleprompter. You were pulling that stuff right out of your ass every minute.
Wow. So you got some of the Barker DNA, whether you like it or not, then to be able to pull it off. But yeah.
But you know that they didn't ask me to do anything but come up with my own. Here's how I would say it anyway.
This is true. Yeah.
I'm not an actor, so it's like it's got to be real. Otherwise, it's just going to look stupid. And it might look stupid anyway, but it's the best stupid I've got, right? So it was interesting because we introduced those guys to Bowflex, and Bowflex was on the Canadian exchange at that point in time. They were a publicly traded company on the Canadian exchange for 10 cents a share.
Oh my God.
Canadian.
Wow.
And so they made a deal trading out stock for production of this infomercial, and it failed so miserably. I told you, Dan, the first one was horrific.
Yeah, I know.
Like embarrassingly awesome, horrific.
Wow.
And like one of those movies, it's like this. It's like I don't want to see it, but
We'd like to. I'm just saying.
It was so bad that Eric Stilson sold them back his stock. They also got all the footage. They re-edited. Next thing you know, a couple of years later, that stock is about $123 a share on NASDAQ.
No.
Wow.
You think Dogecoin is good? Holy shit.
Yeah.
They ended up selling about 3,000 units a week.
Wow.
From 30 a month.
That infomercial led them to $1 billion in sales.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And some of it was much older.
Where Randy's on the machine.
Yeah.
Or with when you guys put it to the test.
And I'm in like really bad khaki pants and stuff talking.
Yeah, we mentioned that on the other show. Yeah, we had some questions about your wardrobe. We feel like you couldn't have been in control of that.
That thing, that thing where he's on the machine talking. And by the way, Randy's interesting because he was the president of marketing and he was the Soloflex guy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Soloflex never had an infomercial, but back in the late 80s, Soloflex was that unit, it was one of the first home things.
Yeah.
And he was just the guy that just stood there, right? Looking cool.
Mm-hmm.
And he sucked.
Good gig.
Meaning he would stop eating pizza for 3 days and that's how he looked.
Yeah.
Right.
We got that read.
Plus he's smart as shit. And so, he just knew how he wanted to sell this thing. And we just kind of did an ad lib thing where we went back and forth and he was talking about how it rips him and all this stuff. And I'm like going, but you got to.
It's like working a muscle against a muscle.
My job was to bring credibility to it in the sense that you need to you need to do it this way. You need to do it that way. And it really wasn't my job to sell anything except to do what I always did,
Yeah.
His body sold it.
Well,
Yeah.
Everybody's body sold it in that stuff. Yeah.
It did. And that's always the thing. No. I'll tell you the worst part of the first one. They made me do it without a shirt on. That's the worst part of the first one right there.
Oh, man. That's what
You'll never see it. And if you see it, we have to kill you.
Wait, did that not make your cringeworthy stuff
Oh,
on your
man.
website? Your
Yeah, you're
embarrassing
so open
stuff?
about everything else. You can't pop one of those on there?
Just one.
All right, for you. I'll do it tomorrow. No, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, and I've got a physical therapy practice, and they're like, no, we're going to shoot this in 2 weeks, and we want you to have your shirt off. And I'm like, what? I don't really know about that. Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll be fine. It wasn't.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about the athletic infomercials versus product infomercials is that you have to have somebody who can perform it, not just pretend to be cutting a knife or something like that. So we were talking about that a lot, where it's like you're in this weird world where you have to get athletes or gym rats together. And that's why we got such a kick out of this one.
Even though I don't always believe that they're using that machine, I do believe they are being
in great shape. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
24 hours a
Can't
day
fake that.
working their ass.
Cannot
off.
fake that.
Really fun about, and I didn't understand really testimonials or anything, but that version you guys watched, there are actually finally testimonials. There are no testimonials in the first one.
Right. No one had it yet. Yeah.
Because it wasn't around long enough and they didn't fake them.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right. There is a scene where we're wheeling one in to a group of people,
Yep.
right, that are very 80s looking. There's a little mullet going on, and there's some, thong and
Porn stash.
and what do you call them, leg warmers.
Yeah.
You remember that
That's our
thing?
favorite part.
Yeah.
Those are actually, they're actors, and they did a phenomenal job of ad-libbing. They were phenomenal.
Wow.
In subsequent versions, we tried to use real people, and here's what they do. They sit in the green room like this, like, yeah, I'm going to be in an infomercial. And I come walking in, and I got a flannel shirt on, and it's like I hate mornings, and I'm drinking coffee, and I'm sitting around, and they're all sitting there talking about, yeah, I do this and I do that, and I'm going, and we get out there on the stage, and they go action, and these guys go, it sucks up about that fucking tight. You know what I'm saying? It's so funny. There's badasses in the green room, and they cannot even say, I think I like it. It's terrible.
So,
Wow.
Call them 5 o'clock hitters in baseball. Yeah.
I think we put the money on, or I definitely guessed that they were gym rats, that you got gym rats to do it. But yeah, okay.
Eli looked great. We're like, oh, that guy could play some hoops or something.
There were some, when they showed people from other parts of the country, those were Bowflex users. Now, I don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like in between sets at the gym, who knows what that means. But somehow these guys really, what was interesting, the original guys, the original president, the original creators, the original everything, were guys of tremendous integrity. And we did our whole deal on a handshake.
Wow.
And we didn't have a contract for a long time. It was a great group of people. Now, as those guys started making their money, and they hadn't seen their families in 2 years, they're like, we're retiring, we're out.
Yeah, we're good here. Yeah.
Yeah. And so everybody they brought in, nobody can keep, if you don't know what built it, and you don't know what it took, and you don't know, you can't keep it up. You can't keep it going. So it just started to dissolve over time, because you bring in, he was the CEO of Minute Maid. It's like, and that has what to do with this?
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's a mess. But it was such a great group of people, and they absolutely did not want to lie. But at the same time, it's an infomercial.
Yeah.
And that's such an education for me. It's like, no, guys, you can't say that. It's like, no, 20 minutes 3 times a week. And I'm like, what do you mean 20 minutes 3 times a week? And they go, Tom, think about this. You got people that haven't been off their lazy boy recliner in 9 years, if ever.
Yeah.
Don't you think that them doing anything is better than nothing? And actually, there's some interesting Mayo Clinic research and all that kind of stuff now that says absolutely, because since we started that, the first one was in 96, the rates of sedentary lifestyle have gone through the roof. So you take anybody and do almost anything, it makes a difference. Well, I wasn't coming from that. I was coming from a bodybuilding background.
Yeah, right.
And stuff. And I'm like, oh, wait. You tell me they're not throwing up and they're getting something out of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like my P90X theory, where I would see these things and then you look at the details of it and it's like 90 minutes for 90 straight days. I'm like, well, yeah, no shit. Like if you just work out max intensity for 90 minutes for 90 days, there's no way you can't dramatically improve. It's very hard not to.
All research is interesting, because the key to quality research is controlling the variables. And one of the variables that can't be controlled is, what state is the person in? What physical state is the person in that you're bringing into the research? Because if someone's already working out all the time, they're not going up much. You got somebody who's doing zilch. It doesn't take much for them to make a considerable improvement.
With that spike. Yeah.
So if I take a bunch of people who are zero conditioned, actually in the hole in terms of conditioning, 6 weeks I can do amazing things with them. But there's two things. They either have killed themselves to make that happen, so it's not sustainable and they're going downhill after that, or they're just simply not going up at the same rate because their head's against the ceiling already,
Yeah.
Is that why momentum becomes such a big part of you hammering in on the momentum thing? Because you're starting with zero, you're starting with somebody at zero, and you don't want it to be unsafe for them?
It's funny you brought that up. What's wrong with you that you see those kinds of things? What's going on in your eye and your brain that you see this kind of stuff?
That's what he does. He's a professional.
It's all Dan's fault.
It's great.
It's all
Why,
Dan's
Dave?
fault.
Well, that actually was without any planning, or it was serendipitous in that one of my biggest things when I would teach the physics of resistance training is when you start slinging stuff around, once you launch it, it's moving itself. You're not doing shit.
Right.
But worse than that is when it's coming down on you, something's got to stop it abruptly. And the more abrupt, the more hammering there is, as opposed to a slow controlled. Anyway, that was already a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I, not knowing about Bowflex, not knowing anything about really much about elastomers or, stretchy, bendy, squishy stuff as resistance, that was kind of a match made in heaven because I was already spouting off about that anyway. And then they bring this thing to me and I'm like, holy crap, even if you do launch it, it's not throwable. Even if you do come down fast, it's only your arms that are providing the inertial effects of momentum-based stuff. The resistance is not. It doesn't care how fast you start or stop because it is not mass-based. It ended up being, there were so many things. Listen, I can beat up probably better than anybody the flaws in the infomercial, especially the behind-the-scene ones that are embarrassing to me. But honestly, for what the average person out there, they do not need to be throwing weights around. They don't need to be throwing kettlebells around. They're already halfway arthritic, if not all the way. This is a really decent thing. And one of the reasons I thought it was great as a home gym, because prior to that, what I knew from growing up was diversified products, DP, Marcy, Sears, whatever. And they all, none of them had a leg equipment that was worth a flip. Mm-hmm. You were doing squats and that was it. Mm-hmm. Well, come on, take somebody 300 pounds with arthritis and they're doing squats. What?
Yeah, of course.
Well, the leg attachment, leg curl, leg extension attachment on this thing was easily as good as the Cybex leg extension leg curl.
Wow.
And that's what threw it over the top for me. I'm like, holy shit, this is
can actually do everything.
Pretty amazing that someone could take crummy knees and this $600 piece of equipment and do something.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That's wild.
What's your feeling on Bowflex's next iterations of all their equipment? It's gone away from
how many generations? Because the ones that we did after that, some of them were really cool.
I'm talking now. I'm talking where they've completely gone away from resistance.
Listen, everything built now
they sell the weight. Yeah.
Is built to sell.
Yeah.
One of the things I think I even mentioned on the infomercial was a lot of this stuff is built just for TV. Bowflex was around before that. That was true. It was, my God, it was in running.
No one remembers that now, but yeah.
So I feel like now when Bowflex builds something, they're building it so they can put it on TV.
Yeah.
And so you start looking at certainly price points. That was an interesting thing about Bowflex was typically they want a 5-to-1 profit ratio in order to pay for this production and this airtime and all this crap. Bowflex was one of the first two-step processes. All they were really selling was something for you to watch.
Yeah.
They wanted you to get a DVD, which of course sounds stupid now because you can just click. But all they wanted you to do was call and order the DVD. They really weren't trying to sell you anything until later when they actually got big enough to provide their own financing. They made as much money off the financing of their products as they did the sales of their products.
Yep.
That was one of the things we jumped in on in our episode too. It was like, wait a minute, with your Bowflex credit card? Whoa, they're playing chess here now. You could tell that the maturity was there from an ownership standpoint.
Yeah. And I tell you what, when I show up at 7-Eleven with my Bowflex credit card, they give me extra power bars.
Do you still have it?
RX bars?
I've never had one.
Oh, man.
They wouldn't give you platinum?
Oh, that would have gone in the Call Now Museum.
Yeah, right?
What's the one that only Jerry Seinfeld had was like the black American Express? I want the black Bowflex card.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Unlimited.
If anyone can get one.
Yeah.
That's a merch idea.
I want to buy a house with it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the rates are very competitive on that. So yeah, I think you'll be fine. Don't worry about that.
So wait, what were some of the go ahead, Mark. Did you have some more?
Sorry, just one more thing on that, Tom. We've seen some infomercials that we've definitely seen that they put the infomercial out first before they even start producing the product to get kind of that buzz, to get the exposure out there, to see if anyone's going to buy it. And I mean, Bowflex is one of those few that we've actually covered that actually has like tested time basically. And people can talk about it now and they've actually seen them in real life.
When Bowflex started, they were originally distributed. They didn't have distributors. They were distributed through Schwinn bikes. So if there was a Schwinn bike store.
I noticed it on the old commercial. Yeah.
Yeah. They created a division called Schwinn Fitness. And so that was because of Bowflex. So they would sell Bowflex over there in the corner of the bike shop. That's how all that started. It was long before I knew it. And there was not an inventor. There was an inventor who's actually made a lot of money on a lot of things with a lot of different elastomer-based products, aerobics floors, all kinds of what the world will call rubber or fiberglass, which is not. It's more complicated than that, patentable. But I think he was making $7 million a month royalties off of Bowflexes at one point.
Wow. God
Nice.
bless
No
him.
kidding.
Ooh.
And I could totally be wrong with that number. But given the way it was going, I mean, it was pretty crazy. But this guy, so the frame and all that stuff, he had nothing to do with. It was just the product,
Those patented power rods.
polymer, blah blah blah.
Power rods, yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, the coolest Bowflex ever was too expensive and too big, and it was called the Revolution, and it was awesome in terms of if I was going to train somebody. Now you had to be an engineer to figure out how to put it together, but it was unbelievable. And I pushed them. They had actually fired me. They came out with that thing. I consulted with that thing. And here's what happened. The guy, I'm going to get sued here, but I had to, when the new...
they got to find us first, Tom. You're safe.
Yeah. Well, somehow that never seems to be a problem when I say the wrong thing. But fuck it. It's the truth, right? So they hired this CEO that was supposed to be awesome dude, and understood fitness and had played in professional sports at some place at some level. I'm not going to give everything away, but Bowflex at that point, I think, had $100 million in cash and zero debt because of the conservative nature of the people that started it. And by the time he was there for a couple of years, it had $100 million in debt and zero cash.
Damn.
And he told his guy, he fired the guy that was in charge of infomercials, who was awesome. The Time Life guy I was telling you about, Dan, that had worked on it. And he was Tom Canardi. He was awesome. Anyway, fired him. And he told all of his CEO buddies, yeah, we're not doing that trailer trash of marketing stuff anymore, i.e. infomercials. And you know what Bowflex was before?
Double bite in the hand, right?
Bowflex changed their name at one point when they started coming out with multiple products, and it was called Direct Focus. So direct marketing is infomercials. Direct Focus was the name of the company. He basically took a company, previous name Direct Focus, and said, we're not going to direct focus anything anymore.
Smart.
So they called me up one night and they said, 2006, they called me up and they said, you know what? We're not going to need you for infomercials anymore. And I feel so sorry for this guy who was the middleman, like the VP of marketing who had to talk to me. He was a cool guy, Mike Ambergy. He ended up going to Oric after this, and now he works for Nutrigenics.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Nutrigenics.
Oh, nice.
He's taken that through the roof with all those testosterone, male, whatever. But
Frank Thomas.
he goes, yeah, we'll use you on the DVDs and stuff. Because originally I wrote the manuals for Bowflex. I did all the instructional DVDs. I did everything. And he said, we'll use you on the DVDs and that kind of stuff. And I went, I got to tell you, Mike, I think I got a couple miles left in me. And so I hired an agent, and there was an ad product that was getting ready to come out. And I was talking to them, and Bowflex stock across just 3 months went in the toilet because of this whole word, we're not doing infomercials anymore. And the investors were like, okay, I don't know what your problem is, but suck it up and let's do this thing. So I get it. This is bad negotiation terms for them. I'm driving back at 11 o'clock at night. I get in from talking about this other ad product with these guys in Orange County. And I got a message when I'm driving home from the VP of marketing at Bowflex, and he goes, hey, Tom, we're going to do the infomercial you wanted to do, which was going to be the Revolution, because I was a big proponent of it. And he goes, give me a call when you get in. I don't care what time it is. Okay, when you say that, your negotiation, you're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a call no matter what time. It's like, okay, how much money you got? I mean,
Yep. That guy is standing at the bottom of the hill.
So it was really interesting how that all went. So the last 3 years on QVC and in the infomercial were great years for me. The product was phenomenal. Everything was phenomenal. It was really interesting. The company was headed in a really bad direction because it had bad leadership, and there's only so much you can do.
Bummer. Yeah.
What did the Revolution look like compared to the Bowflex?
Man.
Was it huge? Was it just a huge Bowflex?
No. At first of all, I didn't have any bows.
It's revolutionary.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
There were no rods. There was a point where we went back and forth on how the resistance should it be internally maintained, and you just flip switches. And the decision was finally made, you're going to take these things that look like plates. Somebody said, no, people want to act like they're putting plates on there. It's a bad idea, but they're basically...
People are stupid. I like that.
It was called Spiroflex was the patented name, the trademark name. But basically, it was another elastomer, and you twisted it, and it provided resistance. And they put a cam inside of the machine that basically made the resistance, when it came out, flat. So instead of like a Bowflex where it'd be like, as the rod bent, it'd go from 10 pounds to 20 pounds to 30 pounds. This thing was just like 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 all the way across. And it looked more like a functional trainer. You know, you have now like the free motion and that kind of stuff with the big arms.
Yeah.
It mimicked that. It had those arms on it, but also it had this plate you put up there for leg presses. And it was, I think the thing weighed 50 pounds. It was like, it could have been an anchor for a cruise liner. It was so heavy. It was awesome.
Wow.
And you can look at it. I mean, I'll send you copies of all these stupid infomercials all along the way.
Oh, yeah.
But you can beat them up, but
Crazy. Careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
We might have some, some further questions, some expert opinions. That's wild.
The biggest thing, the thing that just hits me, you're up there and your call is at 6 a.m. And if it's a day when we're shooting the instructional thing, you don't stop till you're done. Well, the original unit had 60 exercises. The Revolution had 120. So that was about a 20-hour day shooting that.
Kill these people.
And, but all along the way, they never, ever, ever once told me that I had to say anything.
Smart.
Meaning if there was anything that I wanted to change in the script, they were just like, do it. If this doesn't sound right, just do it. I don't know who else I could have possibly worked for that would allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably why everyone loved it so much.
And that's the point about credibility, right?
Yeah. Did you have workout buddies and stuff that you were trying to show this to that just laughed at you? Did you have moments where you actually got,
No, he weeded those people out of his life early.
No, come on. There must have been somebody, right? That was just like,
no, I was the bipolar version of an exercise guy, meaning I was competing in bodybuilding over here while I was graduating from physical therapy school over here. So I'd spend my days working with people who were quadriplegics, and I'd go in at night and do 400-pound front squats.
And try to destroy all of your muscles and
so it's
ligaments
like,
and joints. Yeah.
So, but it's like this spectrum of people that I was exposed to was really important because I learned eventually to get outside of my own crap and start realizing, wait, it doesn't have to be good for that power lifter to be good for 7,500,000 people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That are just normal people. And the problem with the exercise world and trainers and coaches, they think there is a way and there is a best exercise and there is the best way to do it. And it's like, wait a minute, for who? I've got most of my clients now. I have a client that's 100 years and 6 months old, right?
Wow.
Does anything that anybody does in a gym, does any of that CrossFit shit look like anything that guy can do?
Yeah.
So what we really have to do is take who the heck are we talking about?
Right.
And the thing, if you're going to build a product, you're going to sell a product, it needs to be to the biggest demographic that could possibly buy it. People with disposable income.
Yeah.
It's not going to be people that go to a gym because they love the culture of the gym. If you go to Pilates or yoga or whatever, it's a culture. You got the bamboo, you got the babbling brook, you got all the stuff, you got the pants, you're barefoot. And then you go and here's my chalk for powerlifting, and you got a whole different, if you're not screaming, it's not a workout.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, these are cultures.
It's like me.
And they're really important culture to the people that go. It's a piece of the results they get. It's a piece of why they show up every night. So they can't possibly understand, oh my God, why would someone do Pilates? Because they're not you.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
So this is a really important thing. So I never felt the need to explain anything to anybody. If they weren't smart enough to see who this was for and what it was about, or if they didn't ask me, go, tell me what you're thinking here with this thing. If they didn't ask what was going on, they don't know me and they don't have anything. I don't have any time in my life for people who don't think and don't ask questions,
It's fascinating that you were kind of that bridge between that and people's home basement or home workout. It's crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
They should be able to calculate the total number of pounds lost, and you can put that as a stat on your website. They could attribute to you. Like you have the sales number.
Lost the first time or lost after, they rebounded with the M&Ms.
Total.
I mean,
I was going to say, I think you get the recurring, right?
It all counts.
Yeah. It's like for me on my, yo-yo weight loss journey, I can be like, oh, I've lost 140 pounds. I lost 60, gained 20, lost 4, like the up and down. If you do it that way, don't do it linear. That's bullshit. Yeah. Give yourself more credit.
The key word to exercise that they will never promote, it is so non-glamorous, the realities. It is not about how quick you lose it. It is about, are the procedures, are your methods sustainable?
Right.
So it would be better for you to do something mild that you could do until you're 1,000 years old. Yeah. But you don't do this thing that we've all done where it's like, no, I'm motivated.
I'm in now.
Motivation is the end of all goals because you do it for 2 months and then you hate it so bad, you don't do it again for 2 more months or 2 years. Yeah. So this idea of motivation, it sounds weird, but motivation kind of sucks when it comes to health and fitness. It's more about commitment rather than I'm so excited. I have never been as disappointed with students or patients or clients than when they come in and going, I am so motivated right now. I'm like, well, you're fucked.
Yeah. Something's going to be going horribly wrong.
Why today?
Yeah, I want someone to walk in and go, man, I'm just sick of everything. I got to do something. I got to change, or I'm not liking the way my life is going. I can't walk, blah, 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 whatever. Then you see in their face, they want something that fits into their day, fits into their week. It's not a big dramatic thing. It's not, like the Super Bowl and all this stuff. And next thing you know, they're making consistent changes. And I've got a guy. Oh, it's interesting to have a place that's been open for more than 30 years, because I have clients that I've had for more than 30 years. So all these trainers come around like, oh, I get my clients this and that. It's like, you've had them for 5 months. You don't even know if they're going to be alive in 30 years. And so, but there was this guy, and he had 2 brothers, and he was a little dumpy, and
whoa, I resemble that remark. All right, no, go ahead. It's fine.
I was going to talk to you about your ears. You really need to work on
which one? Or my lopsided face? Do you do anything for chin? You got any chin recommendations?
No, you got Tom Platt's jowls, man. They're like badass. You probably got big quads or something.
Don't make it about you, Dan.
I was going to say something nice about Tom getting some work as Clive Owen's stunt double. Now, you know what? Now I'm not going to say it. Okay? Yeah. No, I'm not. Whatever. You know what?
Nobody wanted to hear it anyway. But this guy, he worked out for 30 years, and his brother was always like, I don't ever see him losing weight. Why don't you guys get him in shape? And I was like, but he hasn't gained anything. He's been there 20 years. He hasn't gained any weight. He's only gotten grayer. And that's it. He's got the same health. And by the way, his brother died of a fucking heart attack. And this other guy hadn't changed a bit. Now, I'm not saying that those things wouldn't have happened anyway, but come on, we want to see these big infomercial changes. And really what we need to do for health and fitness is maintain. Everybody that comes in and says, I want to get back to where I was. It's like, yeah, but the problem is 5 years from now, you're going to be worse. If you just started with maintaining the shit you are today, it would be less shit than if you don't.
Wait, great segue here, because a few weeks after Bowflex, we watched Tybo. And we were so ready to goof on...
Oh, Billy Blanks, he came to one of my classes. Yeah.
We were so ready to goof on Tybo. And then we're watching it.
Yeah, we thought we were going to have a laugher. We're like, oh.
We're going, wait a minute. This guy's doing the exact opposite of every infomercial. He's like, it's hard. It's not easy. It's going to take a long time. And there's no equipment. You just buy a DVD. You know what I mean? And we're like, well, this guy he kind of changed the game to a degree. But I mean, you must have kind of appreciated that he was just like, no, we're just going to beat you up. And that took off, The
sincerity and the passion. Yeah.
And the only infomercials I ever watched, I would stay up a lot of nights and watch them, but they were fitness ones because I was curious what are they doing out there? Mm-hmm. And, Billy Blanks came to one of our, I think it was Columbus, Ohio NASM courses, if I remember correctly. And he was a nice guy. And I didn't know anything about martial arts. All the instructors go, oh, it's Billy Blanks. It's Billy Blanks. And I'm going, what? Who are we talking about? I don't know any of that stuff.
They're all incredibly fit. How do I help you?
He's one of those. I was telling Dan about Tony Little. He only did a couple infomercials. Everything else has been on Home Shop. But he's the exact opposite of the person that sells stuff.
That's so weird.
I've got a couple hours of interviews with him from last June, and I've known him since 1990. And he's just, you're like going, what kind of drugs does he have to take to be that guy on TV? He's so cerebral. He literally, before he shoots anything, he sits for a couple hours. He's like a method actor or something. Literally, wow. He's like the Robert De Niro, and he doesn't want anybody to talk to him. And he gets into this place, and he goes, and he's this weird guy, and he comes out, and he's like, "All right, let's go see the kids. Everything's cool."
Unclips the ponytail, hangs it on the rack, and then
that sucker's been real for a long time.
Wow,
that's so funny.
Yeah,
man,
that's crazy.
So Tony, you met Billy. There's some obscure other fitness stuff too. And there's one that we covered in particular that I don't know if you've seen or heard this. We don't think it made it off the floor. We think it's just an infomercial. They didn't sell a product.
I hope you've heard of it.
It's called the Contact Body Blast System.
If it's anything in the past 20 years, I don't know about it.
Oh, okay.
I think it just misses the cutoff then. So Mia St. John, former world champ, presents it. And she's doing her best. But this thing, it's a dummy. It's a blow-up dummy
that you punch.
It's an inflatable dummy.
And that could go a lot of directions, don't you think?
Yeah.
Check out episodes 13 and 14 if you want. Yeah, it's very interesting.
She's very attractive, too. And there's we drew some innuendos from the whole thing, and I think that was
there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. As you should.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the point.
We figured that there was a warehouse somewhere that had some leftover blow-up dolls that they were like, maybe we can turn into a fitness commercial. commercial.
Or it was like a Save the Sex Dolls campaign. It's like, stop punching your sex dolls. Get this doll just for punching.
It's always interesting to me. I like the behind the scenes stuff. Like, whose idea really is it? Is the person who already teaches a class? Like, there was a thing called Turbo Jam, some blonde chick who did an aerobics thing. It was a huge deal for a while, Turbo something.
Yeah.
And she's a real instructor that does all the conventions, and she teaches instructors, and she's a real deal. And she's this little fireball, and she's got the whole package of energy, and she can speak intelligently and all this stuff, and put together a relatively unique program. It still looks like aerobics to me, but it's like, okay, that kind of person, someone hits on it. Someone goes, okay, this is sellable. This is marketable. As opposed to someone going, we got to find, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember step aerobics.
Yeah.
So Jen Miller created the step, and I was in a meeting with a bunch of those folks when the step was declining, and literally, I don't know if the pun was intended or not, but the meeting was all about, the guy said, so we need to figure out the next step.
Oh, I was going step up. I would have been kicked out.
So what they were looking for was, what's the replacement moneymaker for this thing? And they tried a slide board for a while, but nobody could do it because the learning curve is monstrous. You know what I'm talking about? Like that slippery kind of ice skating looking thing.
Yeah.
And they put it in a group exercise thing, and there's like people falling down everywhere. It's like, oh, that's not it.
Oh, God.
It's just, it's a mess because they're too often so busy looking for cash. And I guess you can't fault people for that. But the problem is the consumer is the
suckers,
the benefactor of the bullshit, right?
Yeah. I had one more Bowflex related question. So it sounds like from a production standpoint, it was very collaborative. Like there was definitely a marketing team, but when you came in and when Randy came in, it was like, let's see how you guys work with this. Is that correct?
Yes, but it's a weird evolution because the first one where Randy was in that thing where he was talking and working out, and that was just an ad lib thing, and there really wasn't a script for that one. It was another Stilson production like the Ab Trainer. They didn't do teleprompters. And so we were, again, just winging it. And even the handful of attempts at re-editing that and throwing in a line or two. But with the 99 one, the one you were talking about, the blue shirt thing, which by the way is when every shirt I ever wore after that became blue.
Ah, I got you. I see that.
Even now.
Because prior to that, we brought our own wardrobe. This was the first one where they provided a shirt.
Oh.
It's still my pants and shoes, but they provided a shirt.
That's nice of them.
I'd be spilling shit on myself on purpose to see how many I could get. Maybe that's just me. More mustard, sir?
That's where I had to learn how to read a teleprompter. I'd never even seen one before, and it's right there. It's like, okay, you're going to read this. And I'm like, all right. It was just weird. It's like learn fast or die. You know what I mean? Because they're spending $500,000 on this thing and you can't fuck it up.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that's when it got to where they'd obviously done a version of a script. And they would send to me ahead of time and go, do you have any problems with this? There's anything that's weird or whatever. And I'm kind of a grammar freak. So occasionally there were some things I wanted to change grammatically, but the bigger things were, I can't exactly say that. And they go, well, just figure it out. Go figure it out and send it to us so it'll be in the teleprompter.
That's funny. That's
I
great.
can't imagine. Number one, honestly, it feels like I'm tooting my own horn. I think it's an objective statement. I'm not sure there would be any other infomercial hosts that would know enough about the product and what the realities are of what it can or cannot do, what they should or should not claim to even provide that input. I think they're just reading a script and they don't know the difference, nor do they care. My thing was I had a reputation. I had a life before that, and I was going to have a life after that, and I couldn't screw it up.
Yeah. Put your name on something. Yeah.
We got to send a copy of Pitch People to Tom because it's so cool. You'll get a lot of some of the people who you think are goofballs. They end up taking these crazy products and doing a very similar thing to what you're saying, which is, I can't say this. I can't say that it slices and dices because it doesn't. We got to change that. And they do it on the fly. It's really, really interesting.
I got to tell you, those guys that look like they were at fairs and carnivals in front of the booth, do you remember the Sham Wow guy?
Kid?
Oh, yeah.
I loved that kid. He was just all over it like this. And I was like, oh my God, that he's either on drugs or his brain is Einsteinian.
It's Vince Offer. The guy's name's Vince Offer. Yeah. What a name. I mean,
I love that kid, man.
Probably made up.
He was fast.
He was awesome. And that guy there was a guy that died that was
Billy Mays.
Billy Mays.
Yeah, he was amazing. What did he do? Oxy stuff or what did he do?
Yeah, I mean, he did everything. And
did
he
a
kind
lot,
of built like an empire, but he started with OxyClean was one where it was like, wait a minute, we gotta listen to this guy. Look at that beard. Look at that perfect beard. And then he did beard trimmers and he did all sorts of other shit.
Oh, maybe he had the Ron Popeil spray hair.
Yeah,
thing.
little GLH.
So nasty.
The babes are back.
Is that good for
you?
Okay, here's two fun things for you.
Only two?
Yeah.
The first one was, have you seen the movie The Terminal with Tom Hanks?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So once he realizes he's stuck in this place, there's a point where he sits down in some chairs and there's these monitors up behind him and the Bowflex infomercial's on one of them. And I was like going, please, please, please. I wanted to be in a Spielberg movie for just that long, but no.
Come on.
Josh gets it. Josh was this cool kid who in the last decade was the body of Bowflex. He was the coolest kid. One of the few people that could actually do what I said. It was like, no, try to do it this way. You'd be like, okay. Yeah. Half the people were like, try to do it this way. And they're like,
what's wrong, Eli?
This kid was so cool. And there he is, in a Spielberg movie.
Wow.
Damn. Near miss.
I think that one's on Netflix right now.
You can't blink. Yeah. And it's this upward angle thing. And it's like, there it is.
We're going to have to ISO that shot along with the Bowflex and Running Man.
Yeah. I'm very excited about that.
That's so
but
funny.
then you got to do Men in Black 2.
Oh, yeah.
You know the little worm guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have an apartment in Men in Black 2 and they have a sawed off Bowflex in it.
Get out of here. That's incredible.
Oh, that's great. This is great.
It's funny as crap, man.
This is why we do this.
I know. They should have had a tiny Tom Purvis and a tiny Randy working out. That'd be great.
That would be amazing.
They're patented.
Any more? Just 3?
Bowflex Easter eggs?
It has to be in one other thing. We're going to find it.
There was a Saturday Night Live thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. Well, and you also had Tom Hour in Times Square.
Wow, that was...
What year was that? When it lined up, were you blocked a full hour in Times Square? I mean, you didn't personally, you didn't foot the bill. I'm not saying that.
Is that a YouTube, Dan?
There was a guy that officed out of the Empire State Building, and he had 3 fitness magazines, and he decides he wants to do a show. So he sees Bowflex, and he goes, I want that guy to be the host. And so he calls up my secretary, and blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, I agree to do it. He was a good guy. He wasn't full of crap. So we did these 13... Back then, a season was still 26 episodes. Now, with HBO and who knows how long a season is now, but we made 13, which was a half a season back then. I got him onto a local station here. He got him onto MSG Network, Madison Square Garden Network. Well, they had time on the Sony Trinitron or whatever the heck that thing was up there. So there was a Naturally Fit episode up there, followed by the Bowflex infomercial. And it's like, and I had my phone was blowing up. They're like, you got to see this. I'm like, well, just send me a picture, stupid. Don't tell me about it. So, of course, that would be way too intelligent to send a picture. But
New York's a long drive from here, boss. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Weird stuff, man.
Great.
Sitting around in Oklahoma, and the next thing you know.
Yeah.
Times
that's
Square.
Nuts. Yeah. And so you mentioned a couple of the folks you've bumped into in the infomercial world. And it's funny, you call yourself an infomercial outsider. But, you talk about seeing these people in the green room at QVC, and then in like the second line of your note back to me, you mentioned Joe Fowler. So maybe there's some confusion as a gramologist around the definition of outsider, but, we won't pick on you for that. But can you please tell us about how you know my biological father and Call Now Hall of Famer Joe Fowler?
We love Joe.
Well, see, I'm an outsider because I had a job before and I have a job after, and I was really brought in for one product. And I was brought in for an expertise, not because I was a pitch man.
Fair.
Right? That's really what I mean by an outsider. Yeah. I didn't have an agent until they started messing with me, as opposed to people like, this is what I'm going to do. It's going to be my life. So I met Tony Little because he went through the certification that I was teaching. I met Joe Fowler because his wife was a trainer and went through the certification I was teaching. Everybody I met was because of my day job.
Wow.
That's so funny.
So Stacy Fowler, she's like, we just moved from Dallas. We used to live in Dallas. We're in LA now, Beverly Hills, whatever. And I think my husband Joe is going to come to the next course. She started being an instructor with us for a little while. And so I meet Joe, and he's just that. What you see, that's Joe. That is just awesome. Joe.
Can you imagine walking into a gym and getting assigned to train? Like you just joined a gym, they're like, all right, and you get one free training session. You have Joe. He's gonna, help you out. And
it was his wife that was the trainer.
Hey, what are we doing today, baby? Let's go.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But he was, like we were talking about, at that point, I didn't know I knew who he was because of Cobra. He was the reporter guy in Cobra.
Yeah.
He had been on like Coach,
So funny.
I think. He'd been the sports
Broadcaster.
anchor guy.
Yeah, he was broadcaster in a couple things.
But he's a guy who's, if I understand it correctly, he's so well established and respected in that world. He gets products sent to him all the time, and he decides He reviews them. He tries them. He uses them. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember Met Wrench. My God, it's the best thing in the whole world. It could do both metric and English measurement. My dad's got a set. I've got a set. Everybody I know has got a set.
Awesome.
And we paid for them, by the way. But that was one of the first things he did. And he writes the infomercial. He shoots the infomercial. He does the whole thing, produces it, everything. So when someone has a product and they're like, we don't know what to do, what do you think about this? He is one of the kings of that world, right? From top to bottom, producing everything.
Awesome.
Unrelated to infomercial, but related to QVC, one of the greatest things ever that happened to me was I was up there a couple months in a row, and both months Wayne Dyer was on at the same time. I don't know if you know who Wayne Dyer was. No. He wrote 1 million books and all this stuff. He was some people would say motivational speaker, but he wasn't. He was much more cerebral than that. So he left in the green room his QVC name tag, and I took it with me when I left. But the other thing was, one of the guys from that ab trainer group, Stilson and Stilson, they called me one time and said, hey, we've got an infomercial you might be interested in. And I'm like, what? It's called Little Giant Ladder.
Oh, no
and I was like, man, that's right up my wheelhouse, because at that point in time, I took some time off and built a couple houses. So I was like, I'm almost never not on a ladder. This is like totally in my construction oriented world. That would have been, of course, they ended up with the guy from Home Improvement, right? The guy with the beard from Home Improvement.
He plays Al Borland. Right?
Yeah.
Richard Kern.
Yeah. Kern, yeah.
I would have loved that more than Bowflex. That would have been so awesome to be on.
Oh man.
Oh man. That would have been great.
Oh man.
Great connection right there.
What a missed opportunity by them. Yeah. The ladder to the ladders.
Don't you have a Little Giant, Dan?
I got 3 of them.
Man. I have a Werner. I'm a loser.
I used it today. I'm still scared shitless of them. I'm thoroughly convinced they're going to break when they're extended out about 45 feet.
So are we whenever we watch one of those infomercials.
I was going to say, because you've seen that one where it goes in the middle. No, Jesus, no. Flexo ladder. Yeah. Christ.
Infomercial host dies on Little Giant Ladder. That'll be my obituary.
Man, brutal.
Tom, you've had a great career. We haven't seen any viral clips of you failing on a Bowflex or anything. So kudos to you.
Yeah. It's got to be out there somewhere.
No Bowflex fires.
It was actually really sad. I love outtakes, behind the scenes stuff. And they never really, when we started shooting all this stuff, this is an interesting technological evolution. It was all on film.
Yeah.
70 millimeter, 35 millimeter film. So you couldn't watch. And I was just learning how to do this teleprompter thing. And I was like, guys, I want to see what I just did. Well, you can't watch film. It has to be developed. So they went and got a VHS camera and a VHS recorder, and they played it back for me between takes. And they were like, no, you don't want to see, because most people, it screws up. And it's like, I have to fix when I screw up. I have to be satisfied in and of myself. I don't even care if you like it. Right. If I'm going to keep trying to be that person talking that way, I've got to know that it's actually coming. I don't want to be sitting in my house at midnight and go, well, that sucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow. Shot on film.
They let me do that. And then by the time it was over, it was all digital and all that stuff. And you could watch everything and,
And you were good at that point. You didn't need to look at yourself.
Yeah, right.
I watch, and most of them are still embarrassing. There are some towards the end where I feel like I'm actually more conversational. I don't know. I'm my own worst critic. I'm not really happy with most of them. One of the things that I'm actually the most happy with was a thing called FitRest. There was a product that Direct Focus, i.e. Bowflex, had, and it was a mattress. It was an inflatable mattress, like, what's the one, Sleep Number thing? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It was just coming up, and they bought this thing. It was the same idea, only it didn't have a number. So you never really knew, am I maxed out? Am I not? So they were going to try to reinvigorate that before they dumped the product. So we did a DVD, a sales DVD for it. And that actually is where I think I'm probably I'm the least annoying to myself. I'll put it that way when I watch that thing.
I like that as your threshold for success. That's hilarious.
It's weird, man. And I got to tell you, that whole thing, and you guys, I know you guys have experienced this. Everybody does this the first time they hear themselves with their voice recorded, and they're like, "Oh, I hate my voice," because when you and I are sitting around, we hear our voice resonating in our cranium.
Yeah.
Versus when you hear it from the outside, it's different. But so you guys are probably used to that. But it's like, that's a thing that it took me.
It's a hurdle.
You got to get past all that. The ab trainer infomercial, it was interesting because the hostess was an actress. And so they had her up first and they said, let's do the reaction shots. This is the first thing I'm watching her do. I'm standing over there. I've never been in front of a real camera before.
You're like,
and they go, okay, act like you just saw the thing. And so they're doing close up. She's going, and then she's doing 19 different versions of just that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like going,
and you're like,
the fuck have I got myself into?
like, oh, I'm in the wrong place.
She knows what she's doing. It was, you get to where the 30 people out there you don't pay any attention to, you know? So it's like, in order to get better at that, I would be like, let me practice the teleprompter. Because normally they want somebody else to stand there to check lighting and all that stuff, you know, and get everything set up. It's like, no, I'll stand there because I want to read through the thing like 1,000 times. But doing that, these people don't care what you're saying. They're doing their job. You think that they're all looking at you, and they're not. So it's a really important thing to get over. It's like, get up there and get good at your job so it can all be one take. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's some great lessons, life lessons almost, in terms of how to do a job and make everybody's job easier at the same time, you know?
Yeah. And nobody cares less about the talent than the crew. You know, that's just kind of the reality. It's like, unless you're tripling their day, unless you're just keeping them there long because you can't get out of your own head, then they're like, can we get an adult in here?
Well, the only person that's sad about that is the producer because they're making double money.
Yeah.
Right. It's crazy.
Damn.
So did you know anything about the doctor that was in that Bowflex commercial, Elliot Darden, Dr. Elliot Darden?
Ellington Darden. I love that guy. He's a trip.
Ellington Darden.
Ellington. He actually he's written more books than anybody else who graduated from Florida State University.
What?
Got about 70 fitness books. He was the original author of all the Nautilus stuff.
Yeah.
The day before I sat down with Tony Little, I sat down and interviewed him last June because I met him on Ab Trainer too. He did the diet for Ab Trainer, and then next thing you know, he's doing it for Bowflex. Just really interesting how these little attachments occur, but he's incredibly intimidating and face-to-face.
We called it.
Because he has no personality. No, he is so everything serious. And you're like going
17 pounds per woman. Oh, Jesus. Okay. The doctor's in.
I always wondered how that was going to come off in terms of an expert's dialect, but apparently it did okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I believed him.
So did I, yeah.
My big takeaway was I'm not going to disagree with that guy while he's within arm's reach.
Yeah.
He's got to have an Uzi in there somewhere.
He wrote the books on Nautilus equipment. He's definitely got functional strength at worst. He's probably pretty jacked. I bet he could easily knock me on my ass. I wasn't going to test Dr. Darden. He's good in my book.
He comes smack in the middle of the infomercial. It must mean something.
He was actually a bodybuilder back when he was in college, back in the 60s.
Of course.
Man, we're good. That's great. And you mentioned a little bit of seeing some infomercials in some of your late nights. Did any of them stick out, whether they were fitness ones or just some awful ones that you bumped into that you can't shake from your memory? Because we're here for you, Tom.
Yeah, there's one guy.
We'll bleep it out if you don't want. Yeah.
Fitness guy. I don't even want to say it.
But we want you to say it.
It's just, I knew this guy from long before. He always just self-promoter type guy. His lies were so horrendous on his product stuff. And he was, I just wanted to kill him. I just wanted to kill him because I knew him. And I was like, I'm not saying I liked him or anything. I'm not saying he was a friend, but an acquaintance. And I would see him and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You have like no shame. Do you actually even know what you're saying is wrong? Maybe you're just stupid. I don't even know what the deal is.
Oh man.
Amazing.
Well,
hey,
the fitness ones are the worst, man.
Can't save everybody.
I don't care if my George Foreman thing doesn't cook, but these fitness ones can actually be dangerous. You know?
This is true.
We're going to have to send Tom the contact body blast just so you can get a laugh out of it.
Yeah,
it is
we'll send you a link
hilarious.
to that one.
Yeah.
It's
Watch 2 minutes of it. And
see, you're going to start this whole neurotic thing in me where I can't sleep anymore because I got to go out and save the universe or some shit because of all the crap going.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
you're the fitness infomercial superhero.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you, man.
Yeah.
The hero to the heroes.
Yeah. It was great. Thanks for doing this, Tom.
Yeah.
I didn't know where you wanted to go, but I know there's certainly lots of goofiness to bring up in this whole world of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. No.
The design of the
appreciated.
Bowflex is just fascinating. That was really good. Yeah.
It's scary. I want to see it in the dark. See its outline.
you know, when you're just living it, the first infomercial 3 years later, we reshot, like I was saying, from 96 to 99. And then we didn't shoot another one outside of some little updatey itty bitty things until 2003. So there would be 3, 4, 5 years where I wouldn't do shit.
Just cash them checks.
You know, and then at the end, they started coming out with a bunch of different products. There was a new product, completely different product every year.
Yeah.
And then I was up there every month or something. But it was just interesting in the beginning because it was like just something I did. And then 3 years later, like, hey, you want to do it again? I'm like, sure. I mean, you know, it's just, it was weird to think that it was 15 years of my life, you know?
They got so many miles out of the Bowflex, even with commercials, because you'd be flipping through channels and there'd be commercials that was probably cut from the same shoots that you did for the infomercial. And it's rare to see a Magic Bullet commercial. It's rare to see all these others in a commercial form. But the Bowflex was all over the place.
I think that's why we remember it so much too.
They actually brought me in. I did two 30-second or 60-second spots that never aired. But that was actually kind of exciting because I thought, oh, I'm going to be on mainstream TV, not just like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they never aired. But they were kind of good. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know, shoot them over. We'll let you know what we think.
Yeah, you can beat them up. There's plenty of room for beating them up.
But, you know, as you can tell, we do offer a fair chance for rebuttal. So anytime you want to come back and let us know what we're doing wrong or, you know, be our fitness consigliere, should we veer off the path in anything we talk about? You know, door's always open.
Yeah. That's very kind of you.
I try. Listen, it's
very professional.
Tom, it's the least we can do for you. You know, after you reached out so many times begging to come on, we figured, all right, let's give Tom a shot. You know, let's see if you still got it. So
you guys got to talk to Joe though.
Hey,
he's had a much longer lifespan than I would ever think of. I mean, he's been doing this for 30 years. He could probably tell you some awesome stories.
Yeah, we would love to do that.
Well, you know, a warm lead goes a long way.
Yeah.
Wink. Yeah, we would love to talk to Joe. Love to talk to Tony. All these guys who are just ingrained in so many people's memories. A lot of it's subconscious, right? Where it's like, wait, who is that guy? Why do I recognize that guy? Why do I know that voice? Like, oh, because these are things that have been playing in the background of our brains for the last 25, 30 years.
It's a little scary, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
But it's interesting to hear how it got built up, though.
It really is. And you know what? I think we started by laughing at everything.
Yeah.
And the more you dig into them, you laugh less. You make jokes, but like you appreciate everyone involved. You appreciate the process of all this stuff. And we started this kind of as like, hey, this is something interesting nobody's doing. But yeah, we're still learning about infomercials that aired, 30 years ago, and it's fascinating.
It's nuts. Yeah.
Who knows why, but we're doing it.
A lot of layers to those onions. Yeah. I like to say they're stuck in here with me now. This is going on in my brain anyways. Now these guys, they're trapped. So that's what I try to do. Spread the illness.
Awesome.
New tagline. What do you think? Spread the illness? No, we'll take that out. We're not going to have that as a new
Wait
tagline.
till COVID
No,
ends.
not after this year. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just stay with call now. Let's keep it clean. That's fine. But Tom, again, thank you so much for the generosity of your time.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. This was great.
Yep. Thanks again, Tom.
I was honored that you would ask, and it may sound weird, but it's just the fact that someone appreciated any of this stuff was fun. I just thought it was great.
That's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Awesome.
All right, man. Keep in touch.
Will do. All right. Thanks again, Tom. Appreciate it.
Yep. See you later.
I love that guy.
That was amazing.
Yep.
Man, when we were going into this, and I was lucky enough to have the back and forth leading into this with him, and I was like, oh, I think Tom would be a pretty cool guy. I think I was underselling it even. He was great. He was so willing to get into any and all corners of things, which was fantastic. And it seemed like he was just as pumped to kind of go back into the land of nostalgia where we try to live as we were.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Just the big surprise was just kind of how much information he had about the design and the rollout of the product.
Yeah.
The infomercial and the team. It sounds like the really good team that they had behind it, which we didn't really think about when we were watching it. We didn't even really think about how crazy, it was a crazy design. It was like, that doesn't come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And
right.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of like all the stuff that like lived out there in the lore of movies we watch and just like the pop culture sort of thing.
So funny.
Man, it just blew my mind to hear that it was in Men in Black 2, right?
I love that he had that stuff at the ready too, right? Like that's funny. Like as he was like, oh, he's like, I got a couple for you. The terminal, I was like, whoa, what? Like,
I know. I got to check that one.
Yeah. Running Man one sounds like that's great. He's had those 3 hits right off the bat. Like, wow. That's playing at a different level.
And he also knew Joe Fowler was in Cobra.
Yep.
Like the fact that he just knew that means something.
He's a movie guy, I think, which unfortunately we didn't get to. That would have been the whole podcast if we opened that can of worms.
We'll save that for next time.
Yeah, really?
But yeah. I think being able to go through like I said, the design part of it, and it kind of struck me a little bit like the openness about kind of how things shifted at Bowflex afterwards with the leadership change, and like you tell he was just kind of bummed about it, and like he's like, he's like, he said it too. He's like, I had a career before and I have a career after, but you could tell that like the genuineness and the true belief and the passion that went into it. He's like, it's a bummer that things turned the way they did with that specifically, unfortunately. But he also doesn't feel like a guy who really dwells all that much either, you know? So.
You see the opportunity that he had to create infomercials for new products. And then it was like, oh, changing of the guard. And then all of a sudden he's reading the writing on the wall like, oh, don't think that that's really going to be what's going on for me. So I can slide out of here, which is a bummer because, you know, in some of these companies have continued to make really cool products. You know what I mean? It could have gone a different way.
You know what's nuts too is he does have that integrity. I thought we'd be able to call him a little bit on, oh, you would have done a ladder one. You're a fitness guy. Why a ladder thing? But then he follows it up with, he's like, no, I've been building houses. Like, this is who I am now. So
it's like, oh shit.
He just kind of kept sticking to his guns. And I'm like, what a fantastic guy.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a dream it would have been if Dan, like 3 weeks from now, you know, this isn't going to happen because it didn't happen, but he was just like, how about the Tom Purvis?
The Little Giant. I can't believe he was almost on the Little Giant.
Oh man, Tom Purvis with the Little Giant.
That's the most famous ladder in the world. He's got 3 of them. He was on one today. I love that.
Yep.
He says he's not a pitch man, but then like there is some stuff that, you know, we talk about pitch man innate qualities. Even the way that he phrased and delivered that, it was reminiscent to me of like the Jan Muller picture painting and story building, for just the way that certain people will craft a story or will deliver information that they can't help but be persuasive. And even that, the way he talked about it first of teeing it up, of it being an opportunity to potentially be the one who's going to pitch the Little Giant to then he's like, I got 3 of them. I was on one today. I was like, that feels like a scripted line from an infomercial, right? Like that'd be a testimonial. Like, oh, here's Tom from Tom's Builders. Go. I got 3 Little Giants. I was on one today. You know, B-roll, Tom going up the ladders. Oh, nice. Then smash cut to next testimonial.
But it does track really well for his territory, meaning the athletic, the workout stuff. Because you can imagine the world where Mia St. John, someone's like, hey, amazing athlete, pitch this horrible product. And she's like, maybe this is a good opportunity for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's the outsider in that he's like, this isn't going to work. And they were like, can you come back to our next meeting? You know?
Oh, you should be in the earlier meetings. Like, you should be the one who's helping us not get to this point. We've already lost money, so we're going to shoot it. He's like, all right.
It's pretty wild.
I won't watch it on YouTube.
It's pretty wild. People trusted him with his opinion for so long.
Yeah.
He's smart.
Even before he got into it, they were talking about the product and the engineering and stuff. And he's got no background with it. I mean, he loves engineer. He loves the aspect of engineering.
Well, I was going to say, though, I think the engineering mindset and background combined with the true, like, physical therapy and exercise knowledge, that he's kind of working through not just what exercise should I be doing or should my clients be doing, but thinking about what's leading to that exercise on whatever machine or weights that they're using.
Yeah.
And, you know, his point is like, he wasn't exactly a qualified opinion for those things, but he was like the layman's version of a qualified opinion. We can understand what he's saying, where like if an engineer is breaking down, you'd be like, I don't know what that means. Can you say patented power rods again? I get that. I totally get that part. But like, yeah.
Excellent.
Man.
Yeah, he was great. Total gent.
I know. He's got to be careful. We're going to start calling him friend of the show, Tom Purvis. Hey now.
Whoa. Friend of the pod.
Maybe he'll put that under trainer to the trainers on his website. Friend of the show, Tom Purvis. That was it, man. That was fantastic. Hopefully it came through how much we were mostly just slack-jawed listening to this guy and just letting him run. That was a great time. Yeah.
That's it.
Good job, everybody.
Nice work, everybody. We should go build an apartment to go have fun at.
I think when all this is over, we should get an apartment together.
Damn it. Yes. Yes. You know what? For a long time, there was another Tom and Randy that were my favorite Tom and Randy ever. And they came up a game short in 2007. So, you know what? I think this Tom and Randy might...
What's wrong, Eli?
What's wrong, Eli? This Tom and Randy, along with the What's Wrong, Eli, have supplanted the originators. You're Hall of Fame in my book, Coach. What else do you need from me? Jesus Christ.
I think I could sleep a little closer to you tonight.
Oh, Jesus. Well, what can we say? All right.
Team Tom.
Bye, guys. Have
Team
fun at your
Tom.
apartments.
Team
Oh,
Tom.
you got
Team
a
Tom.
convert. That's it.
Team
That's
Tom.
a T. You have to change that to a T.
I do.
Team Tom, we're wrong.
Thank you all for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, or follow on your preferred podcast medium. And for all things Call Now, visit callnowpodcast.com. And if you want to connect with the boys, you can find them at Call Now Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or send them an email at callnowpodcast@gmail.com. And if you can't fight the urge to pick up the phone and call now, you can leave them a voice message at 617-356-7439. If you call in the next 30 minutes, you might just be the next star of Call Now. Thanks again for listening. We hope you tune in next time to Call Now.
Thank you for listening. This has been a B+ effort. We'll try harder next time.